There has been a ton going on in the Murdaugh case as of recent, which you think like, oh, he's convicted, chapter closed, we're done. No, not at all. Like, I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah,
being honest.
That's what I expected.
So if you guys haven't watched our drug theory video on the Murdaugh case, go watch it, because I feel like it's incredibly important with what we're talking about. And I think it's a very plausible theory. Like, if anything, that's what I think for sure happened. Now, we definitely believe that he's exactly where he should be. 100%. He is where he should be.
I don't know if I believe the drug theory, but just like I always say this in the comments, that just because we're presenting on it doesn't mean we believe it, you guys. These are not our beliefs. These are possible theories of cases, okay? Just like what we just talked about with John Bonet. It doesn't necessarily mean I believe that, but I believe in evidence. All evidence, even if it doesn't make sense with a theory. So, but I absolutely check that out, because that is like, man, blew me away seeing the land that he owned and everything else that came with it.
I do think that's what happened, but with the Murdaugh case. But obviously, I don't know that for sure.
I don't know what I think.
Just the more that comes out, the more I believe that is the most plausible theory. In my opinion. But anyway, so we're going to talk about Buster Murdaugh's statements on the recent, I think it was Fox Nation documentary. It was Fall of Murdaugh House or something like that. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't feel like it was as interesting as everybody was making it out to be, but, I mean, he said what I thought he would say.
Dude,
if I'm being honest.
What they should have said, what they should have done, because everybody is there for Buster's interview, okay? We already know everything that they included in there. There was not a single speck of new information in all the cut scenes to the case and everything going on. They should have just put his entire interview at the end, the full thing of just him, not cut it up into 50 pieces, dude. It was super frustrating.
It was super annoying because nobody cares about anything else that was said in that except for his interview.
Agreed.
And for them to cut it up into these like 5-second clips throughout 3-hour-long episodes. Honestly, I just fell asleep. I was like, this is freaking boring. I'm just going to go look for the clips on YouTube now because this is dumb. Like, the only thing that was kind of cool is, like, seeing some of their family tapes, I guess. But even that, like, I don't really need to see that, being honest. Like, I don't need to know all the details of their family life and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels invasive because Buster's still out here, okay? Like, I'm sure he gave them to them, but, like, I don't know. I feel a little bit bad for the kid, if I'm being honest. So, he did this interview that was cut into 5-second clips on this 3-part documentary where he essentially says that he doesn't think his dad did it. That the jury already knew what they thought from the beginning. Like, that they thought he was guilty from the beginning, and it was always going to be that way.
Of course, The state did a great job in this case of painting a picture of the defendant, like they do in a lot of cases. A lot. We're seeing it a lot more lately. This is like political assassination 101, character assassination that was used on the political forefront for the last 100 years, now being brought into the courtroom.
I do think he was character assassinated from the beginning. And if I'm being honest, I don't think anybody deserves that. Like,
just let the evidence speak. Like,
if you have real evidence that this person killed their child and the mother of their child, then you don't need to character assassinate. There's no need for it. Period.
Agreed.
There just isn't. So why? Because if I'm being honest, I don't think Alex is innocent, okay?
Nope.
But I also don't think he was the one pulling the trigger.
No.
That's my personal belief. Do I think he should still be in prison for it? Yes, because I do think he had something to do with it. I don't think he's 100% innocent, but I also don't think he's the one who pulled the trigger. Yeah. That's just my personal belief. So Buster said he was there for 6 weeks studying it, and I think the tilted table... What? And I think it was a tilted table from the beginning.
Yep.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the jurors felt that way prior to when they had deliberated. It was predetermined in their minds prior to when they ever heard any shred of evidence that was given in the room. Then he was asked by the interviewer if his father had characteristics of a psychopath. He said he wasn't prepared to sit here and say that encompasses him as like a whole human, but he thinks when you look at like the manipulation, his characteristics, the lies, and carrying out these things, that it's a fair assessment.
Yeah. I think it was a smart decision. And here's the thing, too. So we talk about the lawyer you know quite a bit, and the lawyer you know talked about this and really dug into like some of the words that Buster used when talking on this interview, and he was like, oh, that sounds like pre-planned, like a lawyer told him exactly what to say. Those are not the type of words you hear just from an average person. So when looking at, and I think he's onto something, I felt that too. I'm not a lawyer, you guys, but like, we're interested in true crime, so that has a lot to do with law and the legal system, so we pick up on these things over time, you know? And I was feeling that way too. That is not how you would expect someone of his age to talk and be real. This was planned. This was protecting his image. He was sitting super proper, upright, you know, presenting as positive, wearing light clothing, which makes him already look more positive than coming in wearing all black, you know. And he was presenting a perfect, certain way that I think was coached. Now, maybe some people look at that and feel like, oh, what a nice kid. Now I feel bad for him. But it makes me wonder why. Why? Why the act? Why speak at all? Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to cover my two topics back to back, and then you can cover your last two topics back to back, because I think I know why. So I agree with you. It definitely felt coached. It definitely didn't feel like him getting on there doing like a real interview where he gets real, which, can we really expect him to do that? No. That's an unrealistic expectation when he is the only surviving out on the street family member from his immediate family. He has nobody. He literally has nobody left. And for the rest of his life, this is going to follow him. His last name was like one of the most known names in South Carolina, especially the Low Country where they're from. One of the most influential names of that area. Yep.
Everyone knew of him. So, and they had power like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, and for his entire reputation to be tarnished because of his father, like, I don't expect anything more of him. And I think I feel bad for the kid. I do feel bad for him. And not because of anything he said. Nothing he said mattered to me. Because I expected all of it. I expect him not to think his dad was guilty. His dad's an extremely manipulative criminal.
Yep.
And is going to pull at his son's heartstrings and be like, how do you think I could do that to your mother and your brother? And like, dude, come on.
Sins of
I'm not surprised by that.
Are not the sons. That's not how that works. So no. I agree with you. I feel a little bad for him too, unless
he's involved in some way
that he is a criminal also. Yeah. Then my idea changes, okay? But agreed. I gotta have evidence. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and believe that he's this awful, horrible monster just because he comes from a line of Murdaughs who have a history of being awful, horrible, law-breaking monsters.
Well, that goes into the Stephen Smith murder that he's been alleged to be a part of, and they asked him about that. He said, I never had anything to do with his murder, and I never had anything to do with him on a physical level of any regard.
Yeah. Yeah. If
he also said at the time of Smith's death, he was with his mother and brother at another home. I forget. I think he said like a beach house or something like that.
Which is convenient.
Which his alibi is dead. Yep. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, and that's what I was getting at when I said if we find history of a crime. If there's something out there, my take on him is completely different then. Completely
I agree with
different. You. Yep.
If he was involved in the Stephen Smith death, and if he had any knowledge of any of this, because say Murdaugh did plot or actually pull the trigger on his wife and his son Paul, why is Buster the surviving one?
Agreed.
Why?
And one thing...
And I do think Alec was involved. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah. I don't know what I believe. I just... The one thing I do believe is that I don't believe that in that short time, Alec could have went and got these two very specific guns that were the favorites of the household, the Blackout 300 rifle and the Blackout 12 gauge shotgun, and then pop one and then know to trade out the guns, get in a different position, kneeling position, and then pop the other as they come out. I just don't see that happening from just him. I don't know if he's involved. I don't know if he did something wrong and said, hey, look, we're in a ton of trouble. You can no longer use my land for criminal activity, and this is the outcome. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. I have no idea. I just don't believe he was the sole trigger puller. And I don't know if I'm confident saying he was involved in them ending. I don't know. I hope to find out more details on that.
I mean, all those details are really hard. And I mean, I feel like honestly in the trial, I didn't really get any answers to the whole two-gun thing. That's been the monkey wrench in this case for me the entire time. Now, was it proven he was in the area at the time of the murders? Yes, it was. By the video on Paul's phone that they got. But also... and I saw people online saying, Buster sat through all of that court hearing. He was in the trial every single day and saw all that evidence. How could he think his father isn't the guy?
You realize that they don't have the guns. They brought in 6 guns. I know, they haven't
found a murder weapon.
Yeah, they brought out 6 guns just for show to paint an image, but those are not the actual guns. They had over 100 guns in that house, so I don't know why they brought out 6 or whatever. I have no idea. But, Alex would have had to do all that with the swap, with the everything, while driving away, because it was confirmed that he drove away and did go where he said he did. Come back, get rid of the guns somewhere, get rid of whatever evidence, change his clothes, or actually, I think the prosecution was trying to say he washed out some blood spatter he had on his shirt.
I thought he took a shower.
Something like that, where, cleaned it out, whatever, and then called the police and called that in. I just don't see that happening from one man. And him, who is clearly not a very smart criminal.
Maybe he's smarter than we give him credit for.
I don't think so. Not after seeing his faked end himself. No way, dude. No way. Not happening.
The fake end himself was pretty ridiculous.
A good criminal, okay? Think of, the mob guys. Think of these heavy hitter financial mobsters that are simultaneously involved in financial crimes and physical crimes, ending people, making people disappear, go missing, and all this stuff. Could you ever see them in a case of what happened to him on the side of the road? No way, dude.
No. How I see Alec Murdaugh is I see a drug addict trying to live up to his family's name and reputation while also being a drug addict criminal. And
if he's a drug addict. I don't know if he is. I can't find a single picture, not one.
Buster
of him being
does
high.
say in the interviews that he did go to rehab at one point.
Yeah.
And that he did detox multiple times at home, too.
I get it.
And that his mom and his brother, like, apparently caught his dad a few times, too.
His mom and his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So Buster has never actually seen any physical evidence of his dad being an addict.
In other words, yes.
Yep. So look, when there were stories coming out about Brian Koberger being a heroin addict, okay, we can go back and I can find pictures. I found like 5 pictures with his eyes pinpoint, sweaty, white. Like, you can tell he's on something. There's a specific look to opiates.
Alex never looks like that.
I went digging for Alex, and I can't find one. Not one. And at the level of use that he's claiming he was using, that is not possible. Yeah. No way. Dude.
The level that he was using for apparently 20 years, might I add, he would be dead. Yeah. He wouldn't be alive. It's Absolutely. Too much Tylenol. He literally would have just destroyed his body.
He wouldn't be overweight.
He would not be overweight.
Like, he wouldn't have any teeth after 20 years of heavy use like that, of eating sugar, because when you're a heavy opiate user, you crave sugar like you can't even believe. Like, there's all these things that add up over 20 years of use that he doesn't show any signs or symptoms of. None. So I think he knows what's up. I think he's exactly where he should be. I do not think he should get out, because I think he's self-centered enough to be super dangerous, a very, very, very dangerous person. I do think that what happened on the side of the road, he wanted to be ended because he was feeling real loss about his wife and his son. And if you watch the videos of him crying and giving his account, I feel like those are genuine reactions to his wife and his kid in the car. But he couldn't go through with it on the side of the road.
Yeah. So, you know what he said when they asked, like, Buster, what did you think when you found out your dad lied about being at or near the kennels at the time, like right before the murders? Do you remember that part? Mm-hmm. Where he said he thought it was super odd, he was confused, he didn't know why he would lie about such a thing. And she asked, like, why did you think he lied? And he said, I don't know. I'd still like to understand, like, why was it needed to lie about that? And so Alex said that was paranoid thinking. The reason he lied about that was paranoid thinking because of his opioid addiction. I've never heard of paranoia from opiates. Like, that's not a common side effect of opiates.
Where I feel like is, I think Alex knew how bad it looked. Yeah. And I think that's why he lied. Yeah. And he should have been honest, but you got to remember, this guy comes from a background of always getting what he wants. Always. Always, always, always getting what he wants. Until recently, he never had any pushback from anybody. So I think that he knew it could look bad on him, and he wanted to avoid that. Because, again, I don't think he pulled the triggers. I just don't. I don't
think so either.
Why 2 guns? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't throw off anybody. Using 1 gun and getting rid of it is the same as using 2 guns with 1 person and getting rid. Like, why?
Yeah, I don't know why either. That has never made sense to me. I could never make sense of it.
Well, and also, the angle of the shots show somebody that is like 5'8" or less. And they tried to say in the case that they had another expert come up that says, yeah, but can't you just change the distance and that changes the angle to match? That's not possible. That's not possible. You cannot. The only thing that would change it is where your grip of the gun is. You can't, if you're taller, you can't just back up more and now it's going to be the same degree.
You're talking about the rifle.
The angle of the shots.
Of the rifle.
Both.
Okay. Yeah, I don't understand exactly how that works, but
yeah.
So they talk about, like, the stain on the Murdaugh name and, like, how Buster's, like, yeah, it's obvious and people are going to think the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But he says, like, they asked, do you ever worry you're like your dad? And he said, well, I'm not a thief, I'm not a liar, I'm not a manipulator. So in those regards, I'm nothing like him. But he likes to believe he has his more admirable traits of his father. And he talks about what he wants in his life, you know, like how he doesn't have any of his family left, but he wants a happy life. So moving on, because of this interview, Alex loses his iPad and phone privileges because his lawyer was recording conversations through the iPad, I guess, to communicate with the news media for his own gain. Oh, he was abusing the telephone privileges. Mm-hmm. Well, then his tablet had also come under scrutiny because he was recording selfies in which he was, like, topless and, like, just chilling.
Yeah.
So because of this interview and the lawyer, like, you know, recording these telephone conversations of him reading off journals and stuff for this, which I don't think they actually got used. Like, I think there was a couple small excerpts or something, but they didn't, like, use his whole journal reading.
Yeah.
But in this article from the New York Post, I was just cracking up at these pictures.
Yeah.
They're so ridiculous.
Well, I don't think he expected them to be released.
Why is he taking selfies, though? Is he trying to hook up with people? Like, what's going on here?
No, wasn't he, like, talking or something?
I don't think you can FaceTime in prison.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
But so after he got in trouble for the phone call stuff, he actually got another prisoner to, like, let him use his device.
No, his phone card.
Oh, yeah, his phone card. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. And then he ended up getting his commissary and everything taken away.
Yeah, which I found super interesting, too, because it's a rule of thumb that in prison or jail, if you are a woman or child abuser or murderer, you better watch out, because the rest of the prisoners in there that you're with have wives, have children, and they don't like that, okay? Now, it makes me wonder if there's some kind of underground criminal element that already know what happened and what's going on and don't believe that he did that, and that's why he's in a position where he's able to
ask for another guy's PIN number to make phone calls.
Absolutely. That's a certain level of power in there that I don't think a woman abuser or child abuser or killer in his case would get.
Yep. I agree with you.
They tried saying he was like the shot caller. That's why he had that. No, come on. I don't think he's...
No, he's no shot caller.
He's not a criminal, like, mastermind. It's not there.
And he
botched everything.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Failed at everything criminal he's tried.
He literally failed at everything.
Everything criminal.
And which is why he's pleading guilty to all of his financial crimes.
Yeah.
But that's all we got on the Buster Murdaugh situation, and now we're going to switch over to the new possible trial he'll be getting.
Yeah.